Hey everybody. Um, just wanted to introduce myself. My name's Heather Haynes. I am 33 years old, about to turn 34 in about a couple weeks. I am married to a wonderful man named Jordan for about 8 years, and I have a 10-month-old son named Grayson who is the cutest kid ever. And I was recently died. I didn't die. I was recently diagnosed with neuroendocrine carcinoma in the cervix. So I thought I would just kind of start this blog for a couple of reasons. One, if for nothing else than just to give me an outlet to talk, feel like I'm doing some good. Two, for our friends and family, if they want to watch this, to know what we're going through, for those that are far away or here and just want to see what we're going through, how I'm feeling, all that kind of stuff. And then three, and I feel like most importantly, just for other people who have been diagnosed with cancer, who are going through this, who have questions. I haven't looked a whole lot on YouTube. That's like more my husband's thing. He finds stuff, he researches. So maybe there's tons of stuff out there and this is completely not needed. But I know I got on a Facebook page for other people that have been diagnosed with what I have, and not belittling them at all, but I said, hey, like, what are some, like, some tips for when I'm going through chemo that can really help me? Like, stuff the doctors won't tell me, like, and I know obviously everyone is different, everyone reacts differently, but like the inside tips, like take a blanket to chemo, or this is how, like, a great thing that can help with, like, um, nausea, or when you lose your hair, this is what helped me. And like the only thing anyone said was take your meds. And I'm like, my doctor can tell me that. Like, you know, I need the inside scoop. So I thought that maybe I can just walk through this journey with you guys and you can come along with me and I can tell you what I'm thinking and feeling, what I've gone through, and what I expected to happen and what really happened and all that. So come along if you want. Don't if you don't, whatever. But I'm going to do this. So, just a little bit of background. I am 15 weeks pregnant. I went in to get my just regular 8-week prenatal checkup. They did a PAP because it had been a long time and it came back abnormal. Didn't think anything of it. I, whatever, abnormal PAP, like, eh. So it took about 2 weeks for them to get those results back. They called abnormal PAP and they said, well, we want you to see our specialist. What they didn't tell me that it was a cancer specialist. So I still not thinking anything of it. I go make an appointment with this Dr. Walter, and who is now my oncologist. And they set it up like pretty quickly. So they called on like a Friday or something, and I went to see him on a Tuesday. So they said, we're going to do a biopsy of the abnormal cells that we found to see if there's anything, to be worried about. So they did the biopsy on a Tuesday and got the results back on a Friday. And they said there were 2 spots that were precancerous and 1 spot that was cancerous. So they said, we want to do a LEAP procedure. So I get the results on Friday, and they said, we've set it up Monday for a LEAP. So a LEAP, I don't have the actual name for it, but basically they take like electrical stimulation and they just like shave the cells off, and it's in my cervix. So they just shave the cells off of your cervix, and that's how they kind of basically take another biopsy. So for that, they were planning on putting me under general anesthesia, which I was kind of freaked out about because I am pregnant, and I had always heard, like, you don't want to go under when you're pregnant. Like, they don't, they do everything they can to make sure that you don't. So I was kind of nervous, and they're like, no, it'll be fine. Like, the baby's heart rate will probably slow down, but yours will also, and it'll come back up. It's like a super short procedure, like 15 minutes, no biggie. So I get there that morning, and they said, actually, we're just going to do you under mild sedation. So I was kind of happy about that, but also a little nervous because I'm like, they're like, you'll be awake, but you won't be with it. So I'm like, okay. But still glad because it was probably better for the baby. So we go in, they're like, you need to come an hour before your time. And it's just like how it is when you get an operation. You go in, they do pre-op, they do like, you get the IV, you change it to your gown. You know, my husband could sit back with me at that time. You're in the bed, you know, in this little cubicle and stuff, and they're asking all these questions, and it can be a little intimidating, especially if you've never had surgery, which I have, but you know, it's still kind of intimidating. So, do all that, and then they wheel you down all these long corridors and take you into the operating room. And it's like a real operating room. So if you have a leap, don't get freaked out. It's a real operating room, but it's not a big deal. And you know, all the big lights, the table, they make you transfer over the table, and like you're in this nice cushy bed, and then they're like, okay, transfer on the table, and it's like this narrow and hard, and you're like, okay, good. And then, you know, they're hooking you up, they're putting all these like electrodes and stuff on you, blood pressure cuff, all this kind of stuff. And funny side story, so the anesthesiologist was a woman, and I know, like, I've had a baby, and modesty kind of goes away because everyone's down there, you're pushing a baby out, but at the same time, you know, whatever. And the anesthesiologist was like, okay, do we want to get your legs up first and then we'll knock you out? And I must have had this look because my doctor was like, no, we'll knock you out first. We'll get you, you know, kind of out of it, and then we'll put your legs up. And I'm like, thank you. And I'm looking at this lady like, would you want to climb up on this table and spread your legs wide for everyone to see while you're still fully awake? Like, hello. So they gave me the drugs, and then they got me set up and everything. And the whole procedure is like 15 minutes. I was awake. I could hear them talking. I could hear them like moving me and stuff, but it was not like I was not there. So they did the leap on a Monday. He calls back Tuesday and says, you have cancer. Can you come in tomorrow to our office to talk? So both me and my husband are like, okay, oh my gosh. So we go on Wednesday, and he said, you know, they did the pathology of your biopsy. You have adenocarcinoma of the cervix. And he's like, really? As long as it hasn't spread, this is not a big deal. You will have to deliver by C-section because you have cancer, and we don't want the baby going through the vaginal canal. We'll probably deliver you at 37 weeks because we don't want you going into spontaneous labor. You'll have to deliver at a different hospital. You'll have to have an actual like OB because I had changed to a midwife. So those were all kind of like things, but not that big of a deal. And then he said 6 weeks after you deliver, you will have just this little procedure. We'll cut out the cancer from your cervix. Bing, bang, you're done. Should be no problem. So I'm like, okay, like this isn't a big deal. Had an MRI to make sure that it hadn't spread to my lymph nodes, and it hadn't. So we're like, okay, like we can handle that. So come to find out the next Tuesday, I was calling into office for something, and their chemo like specialist, the one who like sets up all the appointments for chemo and stuff, she is like Dr. Walter's right hand lady. Her name is Hannah, and she's amazing. She was like, I just wanted to let you know that we sent out your samples after we talked at our tumor review board, which we have every week. And she's like, since you're such a special case, because I have cervical cancer while pregnant, which most people don't, because the cervical cancer usually comes on later in life. Like usually if you get it, it takes like 15, 20 years to develop. And I was getting it a lot quicker. So she's like, we sent out your samples. They'll either go to the Cleveland Clinic or they'll go to Mayo, and then we'll get them back. So I kind of freaked out a little bit about that, but I was like, it's okay. It was a couple day freak out, whatever. So she told me that on Tuesday. So Friday they call and they said, you have a different kind of cancer. It's actually neuroendocrine carcinoma of the cervix. And this is a very rare, very aggressive type of cancer. And we need to start you on chemo right away. And like, this is serious. So the way it happened, I forgot to tell, it was kind of funny. She calls. Dr. Walter was on vacation that whole week. So I see that someone from the office is calling. It's Friday at like 4:30. And they're calling. And I was like, oh, I have an appointment next Friday because I hate talking on the phone. Like, I have an appointment next Friday. Like, it's one of those automated, leave a voicemail kind of thing talking about my appointment. And in the back of my head, I'm like, it's kind of early for that, but whatever. So I ignore it. They call right back again. And I was like, well, it probably just dropped the call. Ignored it again. They called a third time and I was like, I should probably pick up. So I answered, and that's when they told me that it was this different kind of cancer. So that weekend was not a good weekend because I thought I might be starting chemo like that next week because they were like, you need to start right away. So she's like, can you come in Monday to talk about all this? So Jordan, my husband, gets another day off work. This is like the third or fourth day that he's had to get off in like 2 or 3 weeks. Gets a day off, and his work has been amazing. So he gets another day off. So we go in Monday, and Dr. Walter was like, yes, Cleveland Clinic says you have this new type of cancer. He's like, I am sending your samples out to Mayo to get just another, to see if they agree, because this radically changes our plan of care. Completely, everything is like completely turned around, and we want to make sure it's this. So that was a Monday, and we wait till Friday. And that was like the longest week of my life because I didn't want to freak out because I'm like, if it's not this, then why freak out? Why cause all that pain and trauma and tears and planning? But I am a planner. So it was a long, horrible week of just waiting. And, you feel everything, you think everything, you think your life is about to be turned upside down, but you don't know. So it's like, what do you even do? So he calls at 4:00 on Friday afternoon, like pretty much as late as you can call. And he said, we got the results back and they agree with Cleveland Clinic. It is this neuroendocrine. And it's aggressive, and we need to start treatment right away. So that was last Friday. And he said, we need to get you set up with a port, and you need to start chemo right away because if this spreads, it will not be good. So another long weekend of, oh my gosh, like our life just completely changed from what we thought it would be. We thought that we have this beautiful son and we're about to have another kid. And yeah, that was hard enough in itself. We were already kind of freaking out about that. And now I have cancer. And the crazy thing is we didn't really want to get pregnant this soon after our first son. We'd actually been fighting about it a lot. I wanted another kid. He was not like totally into it. And, but I ended up getting pregnant, and that's the only reason that I got a PAP. And if I hadn't got pregnant, I wouldn't have got a PAP. And this probably would have spread way far because I'm not the type of person to go to the hospital or the doctor, even if I'm sick, even if I have symptoms. I'm like, it'll blow over. I'm fine. No big deal. So, this baby saved my life pretty much how I look at it, because I never would have gotten a PAP, and it probably would have spread because it's so aggressive. Talking with Hannah the other day, the chemo nurse, and she said, if you had not found this when you did, it would have spread, and we would be talking chemo to give you months, not to save your life, not to, beat this, but to give you months, and you would probably die. And so that's kind of a startling realization. So it's been a whirlwind. I'm still trying to process all of it, but at the same time, I don't feel like I even can process it because it's been so busy. I'm a little behind in videos. I wanted to do all this before I actually started chemo so that I could whatever. But I got my port on Tuesday. It's Thursday now. I'm actually getting chemo right now, my second day. So I'll do a video on getting the port and all to expect with that if you have to get one. But yeah, so we've started this, and right now I feel fine because it's only the second day. They said I might start feeling sick tonight, but it just depends how it affects me. Some people don't feel sick like the first round at all, and then the second round is like, boom. So we'll see. And I think my chemo's done, the first round. So we'll finish this later.